she, her, hers. And this meeting is being recorded. We can continue. I work at CNI and support ELA as a TSA grades 6 through 12.
Hi everyone, I'm Bia Tesserero. My pronouns are she, her, hers, they, them. And I also work in CNI supporting secondary ELA as a TSA, as well as I am currently also teaching at Lincoln High School.
I'm Erin O'Brien, TSA in the ELA department. My pronouns are she, her, hers.
Hi, I'm Susie DeBloy. I supervise secondary humanities in the Office of Curriculum Instruction. I get to work with these 3 fabulous teachers on special assignment. My pronouns are she, her, and so excited to see all of you guys here today. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, so as you can see right now, there are 93 people and we expect more to be coming, which we as a team are really excited about the opportunity to have all of us in the space. It's kind of one of the silver linings of this time is that we get sites together in these virtual spaces to share our collective knowledge. And at the same time, we're all a little nervous because it's a large group. And so with the tech and everything, we hope you'll be gracious and forgiving if we fumble at times, but we're more excited than nervous. So thank you for being here. And we're gonna start with a little activity using Mentimeter, which you guys have been exposed to in your first asynchronous PD opportunities, if you've done them yet. We have a link here for you, and there'll be a link in the chat, and there's also a QR code if you wanna use your camera to get there. There are 2 questions we want to think about. One is, what is one word to describe how you hope to feel on Monday morning, first day? And the second is, what is one word to describe how you hope your students will feel by the end of next week? There's that prepared word, front and center. Large, definitely something we're all holding. We want to feel prepared in this setting. I'm sure many of you have used these before, but just so you know, that doesn't mean it's the most important word in the Wordle. It just means that more people have written that word than any other word, and so it shows up bigger. Jazzed, I like that. Joy, loose, grounded, centered, ready, jubilant. I like that, joy and jubilant, excited about going, inspired, steady, confident, and engaged. All good words. Let's switch over, go back to how we want our students to feel. Some crossovers, and inspired as well, connected, excited, engaged, comfortable in this digital space. Prepared is there as well. But funny enough, as teachers, we hold ourselves as it's very important for us to be prepared. That's not necessarily the highlight for a student at the end of the week. Excited, confident, connected is that energy that is standing out here. Let's go back, see if there's any more. Whoa. All right, well rested. Yeah, we all need our sleep this weekend, right? Rested twice. Adaptable, so important right now. All right. Any words standing out to you guys? My moderator friends?
Be confident. Out of the woods.
I was just gonna say that one too.
It's all squished together to make one
That's
word.
a new one.
Out of the woods.
Hey I think I accidentally went to the wrong meeting previously. Am I supposed to be in a breakout room right now?
No, you're not. We're just doing a Wordle on how we want to feel on Monday morning and how we want students to feel by the end of the week. So you're welcome to the session, and it's just started.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
And I'll link the sign in for you in the agenda so you can feel all caught up.
All right, so given those powerful words of we want to feel prepared, we want our students to feel comfortable, we want them engaged, those words aren't tremendously different, right, than what we usually want to feel the first day of school. But clearly right now in our context, everything's different. Our current reality is not business as usual. It's nothing we've ever done before, our students or ourselves. And we want to sort of ground ourselves in that and really recognize that today, that this reality is challenging on many, many levels. So in the chat, we'd love for you guys to write out what are the realities we as educators, parents, community members are facing right now, really thinking of ourselves as whole people and all the roles we play. So in the chat, if you could go ahead and take a minute to write a few words or sentences to that. Erin, are the faces blocking the prompt on your screen? No.
So we have a lot of folks who are sharing the feeling of uncertainty. The realities are rooted in resentment and isolation, tons of expectations and learning curves. I feel like I'm standing at the base of a mountain trying to field an avalanche with a baseball glove, blurred boundaries between work, personal lives, as we are now working in our homes. That's real. Overwhelmed, contained chaos.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also seeing a lot of new learning and trying to manage that and adjust what you would do if students were in the classroom to an online setting. Barely contained chaos. I love it.
Great. We feel you on all of that. The adaptability, the high learning curve, the balance, the uncertainty. It's real and it sits, inside all of us. And so we wanted to start this session really thinking about you and where you're at. And we have this question with this gift behind it. Thank you, Bia, for putting that in. What is your current state of being? And by current state of being, we're defining it as a culmination of how one is feeling and experiencing the world within their unique perspective at the moment. And when you think about that, part of that would be the emotions that you're feeling, all the feels right now, the thoughts that are spinning around in our heads, the physical space we sit in, and all the responsibilities we're holding. That all kind of goes in, and the balance of those gives us our current state of being. We're gonna have you do a quick activity. Well, you'll take 5 minutes, which is gonna go really fast, and you're gonna want more, to reflect on your current state of being and produce a product that represents it. The product could be a Google slide with words and images. It could be song lyrics. You play a song that really reflects how you're feeling and what your current state of being, or you could write a song. It could just be a quick write of what you're feeling right now, a brainstorm bubble, a drawing, and then anything that is going to represent that you feel like you want to do to create. What I will say is we're going to go into breakout rooms after this, and you'll have an opportunity to share with peers and colleagues. So if there's something that you don't really want to share, you don't have to put it in, or you don't have to share it in the breakout group. But right now we're just going to give you 5 minutes of time so you can turn off your camera, do whatever you need to do to create, and then we'll pull you back and give you an opportunity to get out and start talking with colleagues.
For anyone who'd like, I'll put on some background music while you take time to reflect on this and get your creative juices flowing.
All right. I think that means it's time. I know 5 minutes can go fast when you get involved in a creative activity. We did something similar in a meeting with our own team, and I know my slide was not done at the end of that 5 minutes. And I was feeling uncomfortable because I felt like I wanted to finish, and I actually went back later and did it on my own. But it just goes quickly. So don't worry about what you were able to do or not do. It's more around the intent of being able to share with others your current state of being. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to send you off into breakout rooms. When you are there, and we'll put this also in a link to in the chat so that you know what you're supposed to be doing. You're going to share your screen if you want, or put a link in the chat in your room about the product you made, about your current state of being, and each of you can go around and talk. If you don't want to share your product and you just want to verbally share what you did, that's fine as well. And then we want you to like change hats from yourself and your current state of being to thinking about your students. And why might this information be important for educators to know for our own students, given the context? And then how might you, as a teacher, gather information on your students' current state of being? So Bia's gonna, oh, is it Bia or Erin? Erin, are you doing breakout rooms? Okay. I like how you just pointed up. Okay, Erin, so what are the numbers? Is there about 4 or 5 people per room?
Muted. Yes, I almost have it. So that it's 4 to 5 participants per room. Sound good?
Great. So when you go, please just make, you have 10 minutes during this time. So just monitor to make sure everyone gets to share during that time, and then we'll pull you back.
Great. And the directions are in the chat if you forget. There you go.
All right, well, this is the power of having 99 high school ELA teachers in the same space, collaborating and talking about how we can support each other through this. So I love the way you guys are thinking about how people will take on something else so someone can manage. It's a collective responsibility. So, and the other thing that I love and we all love is not to have our screen shared so that we can see each other's faces. I know we were doing new teacher orientation, and the first session we had our screen shared the entire time. And then the second session we didn't for periods of it. And I realized how much more intimate it felt to just see people's faces. So it's really nice to see you guys and all these faces connected into the room. And we hope in your breakout rooms you had a time to meet someone from different sites, to share how you are, and to share kind of how you're going to start to welcome your students back into this digital space. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to awesome Bia to talk about some resources we have as an invitation for you to think about how you may use them in building community and getting to know your students.
Thanks, Amy. All right. So as Amy mentioned, we do have an offering for you all today, in addition to you all being resources to one another, which is one of the goals of this, is that you all can begin to connect during this time. But we do have an offering for y'all, which is a launching unit overview. And that activity that you all just participated in actually belongs in one of the lessons for the ELA launching unit that has been developed by teachers. And one of the writers will be with us, is here with us today, Miss Samantha Sherman from Lincoln. Hey, hey. And she'll actually get a chance to go over the launching unit that she and I wrote. But first, we did want to start with letting you all know, what is this unit? Why was this created? What is this launching unit, particularly for ELA, rooted in, and what are the unit outcomes? So first off, right, before we get into the actual ELA lessons, this idea of creating launching units was developed out of the needs and requests that came out of some of the surveys, town halls, and working group sessions since June. And so one of the things that we were told was that teachers in the QT survey found that some of the supports they wanted was curriculum or sample lesson plans that are adapted for distance blended learning, tech support for distance learning, PDs on designing and delivering distance blended learning. And then from there, a lot of the considerations that we were told as well from families and students and various folks in the community was that they wanted more building and strengthening of relationships between families and students, instruction that was focused on more interaction, more connection between the students and each other, as well as the teachers, building capacity for students and families to navigate this time, right? Differentiation, and really attending to health and wellness. And so a bunch of folks across the district, across disciplines, came together in order to address these needs and felt that these particular 5 that you see in blue would be best suited and best addressed in the beginning of the year. And so, as you can see, we have all disciplines across the district coming together to create a 2-week launching unit that is full of up to 6 lessons. These are all written by classroom teachers with support from various folks in the district. And the goal was to have coordinated lessons across discipline without any redundancy, so that in each class, in each discipline, students were getting some kind of experience, but not doing the same kinds of activities. And that could be more intimate in building the culture in that particular class. We want to emphasize that these lessons were created as samples that teachers and sites can and are encouraged and should adapt, right, based on the demographic and the culture of your students. And so we highly encourage that you work with your site and your grade level to make this work relevant for your students at your school site. Something that you'll notice is that the way that the lessons are designed is based on a schedule that we use for planning purposes only. And we know that even today, some of this, the schedule is still kind of being worked and agreed upon. But for planning purposes, the schedules that we used were that core classes are scheduled 3 times a week. On Mondays, they are 40 minutes. And then on the 2 other days, they are 75-minute sessions. And no block is all synchronous. And we've divided up between synchronous and asynchronous time. And you'll notice that work assigned must not go over 75 minutes and no homework, to avoid doubling down on homework and adding any more onto the plates of the students and the teachers as well, and trying to navigate this new way of schooling in this context. And so the 75 minutes is broken down between a 40-minute synchronous live sessions where priority is for connecting and discussing and interacting between all the students and the teachers. And then the asynchronous sessions are 35 minutes long, where we are looking at prioritizing work that might be more meaningful if students were to do it independently, but we want to make sure that it's clear that this is not devoid of interaction as well, and we can encourage something else digitally for students to be connecting still. And so in thinking about addressing all of these concerns and these needs, the teachers who came together to plan the launching unit came up with a shared guiding question. And that is, how can we create a brave and engaging space where we can heal, collaborate, and learn? And so I'd like to give the mic now to Samantha Sherman, who was one of the writers for the ELA launching unit, and she'll share with all of us what considerations were made to address that shared guiding question. Sam?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you, Ms. Tesserell, you're fantastic. I appreciate you for all the things that you do. So, one, I wanted to talk to you all about this because when we were writing this unit, we really came from our current state of being. We were trying to recognize that everybody has been in these such varied spaces. You have your child at home, you're inviting people into your home that you've never wanted to invite into your home, can we be honest, right? You're seeing into children's homes. Like, there's so many places in which we as individuals had to strip our boundaries, right? And so this unit is in recognition of that. It's also in recognition that your students are going to come back to this year feeling way different than they've ever felt before, right? Everyone was stagnant and stuck at home when we watched a murder, when we watched an execution, right? And so the space that we're writing this unit from is hoping to build the foundation of trust that we want to get people to understand. Like, I understand that it would be easy to work from a business as usual space, but it's not easy to stop and analyze how we build trust, how we establish that in a digital sphere, and how we want to make sure that our students understand that we care about them in our culture and in our and in the building of our agreements. So that's where this unit is coming from. Ms. Tesserell and I we're trying to be really intentional about how we connected to the student need and the difference in which they would come from the summer in. So that, and come on, we're in a global pandemic. We're in a space and time where police brutality is up front and center. And so we want to ignite that. We want to talk about, we want to build foundations so that when you continue on with your lessons throughout the rest of the semester, you can have a full, dense conversation. That's where we were. So if you can go to the next slide, Ms. Tesserell, that'd be great. And so for the outcomes, we were thinking, how can we make sure that they start advocating for themselves? How can we make sure that they are feeling comfortable and competent to say, I don't feel well today, and I still have a place in learning, and I can still be prepared to produce this product, right? And I feel isolated today, right? But here are a few people that I can contact and touch, and not touch, please don't touch, wash your hands, who I can contact, right? And make sure that they feel connected to me and I can feel connected to them, or a trusted adult, right? Also about getting their organizational skills together and right? This unit, again, also doesn't touch content. It will late itself to content, but it doesn't necessarily say, okay, so you have to read this unit, or you have to read this book, or here's this article per se, because we want to, again, emphasize the current state of being, that it fluctuates so much, right? So we want them to feel organized, be able to articulate their emotions, comforted in knowing who to contact, because they're going to do that as a group. We want them to be reflective. We want them to articulate where their boundaries are, and then create successful routines and modes of communication.
Oh, I didn't know you were here.
Modes of communication. We want them to learn about their peers, and then collaboratively develop empathy-based agreements and expectations. So again, thank you, Ms. Tesserell, for working with me around this. This was really helpful, and I enjoyed it. I hope you all enjoy it too, and please adapt it. It would be really helpful.
All right, thank you, Sam. And so with that in mind, right, all of us coming into this space, holding all of these emotions and experiences from the last couple of months, and knowing our students will probably be doing the same, right, we do want you to take some time for the next 10 minutes to explore the launching lessons. And as you do that, we want you to think about these questions, right? Was how did the writers, Samantha and myself, plan to achieve the outcomes? Maybe how would you adapt that? What distance learning considerations were made that could support you in building your own lessons or the adaptation of these ones? How might you use or adapt the actual launching lessons? And what have you already created that aligns with the purpose behind the lessons or is similar to activities that you've already begun to develop this past summer in preparation for this year? And so these questions will be placed in the chat, as well as the links to the following. You'll have a link to the high school launching website that will have all of the launching units there to explore. You'll also have the link in the chat to the launching overview, as well as the link to the ELA launching lessons. Now the lessons are, the lesson document is probably the longest and most lengthy. So if you feel like that might be a little bit overwhelming to see all of the things all at once, I highly recommend that you look at the overview, which looks at just the outcomes and activities for each day. And there are links if you are curious to the lessons itself from the overview document if you'd like to look at a specific unit. And so if there aren't any questions about what you are supposed to do, we'll give you about 10 minutes. I think the link is already in the chat. And if you'd like to now mute yourself, turn off your video, and really just kind of take this time to be with the document, engage with the document, you can go ahead and do that, and we'll give you a time check when it's time to come back. Thanks, folks. All right, folks, if we can begin to make our way back to the Zoom. I know it's not a lot of time to read through the pages and pages and pages that is that lessons document and all of the links that we sent you. But we encourage that you can always go back to it. It is on the website that we also sent you. They are on your agenda, so you can always revisit the lessons. But what we would like to do right now, while you are thinking about and still while you are thinking about the lessons, we want to give you some time to collaboratively process and share. So I think the most valuable thing within PDs is moments to really talk with our colleagues, especially across sites, and see what folks are doing, see what folks are thinking. So whether they are inspired by these sample lessons or not, we really want this to be an opportunity for you all to network and share resources and engage with one another. So what we'd like for you to do is, with some of your questions and thoughts and ideas in mind around how you plan to start the year, we'd like you to discuss in your breakout rooms 2 questions. What are you thinking of doing to establish a brave and engaging space where students can heal, collaborate, and learn in the first 2 weeks of school so that they can feel settled before getting into any kind of content? And again, these could be inspired by the lessons or not. Maybe you already have something. We'd really love for you to share that with each other. And then 2, what do you anticipate might come up for your students during this time? And what might need to be in place within your school site, within your class, to really support them during the first few weeks of school? And then what we'd like for you to do, if you get a chance, is based on your conversation in your breakout, is if you can kind of document some of those in Mentimeter again. And so Erin will place the link as well as these questions in the chat for you all to have access to during your breakouts. And for this Mentimeter, instead of a word, it'll allow you to put in some sentences and actual responses. Any questions before Erin breaks you all out about what to do? Sweet. So in a moment, you'll be prompted to go back into a breakout room. Please remember to introduce yourself because it'll be with new folks so that you can continue to share all the love.
It's a
Hi, everybody. I know that folks are probably still trying to enter something in. Don't panic if you weren't able to, or you just were like, nah, I don't have time. I have so much in my mind. No pressure. You did not have to write anything if you felt like you just couldn't. But I do hope that you all were able to have like really meaningful processing time and a sharing of resources and ideas for the start of the year. As you can see here, on the Mentimeter, we do have a couple of folks who were able to get something in around what they're thinking of doing to establish these safe spaces for students. We have demonstrating vulnerability. I find that it's really important that we humanize ourselves as well and not just humanize our students, because we're all learning and growing during this time and learning all these new crazy things. We have acknowledging that we're in a pandemic and give space to talk about that, right? Hoping that they, that they do show up on Zoom. And if there's a reason for that, that we're checking in with them, right? And a lot of them are strangers. We don't have that physical space. So a lot of them are meeting us for the first time, and we want to make sure they feel safe. And so as you all, notice that was what these launching units are rooted in. So they're not content specific at all, right? And we really focus on the connecting, bridging those, trying our best to bridge that gap that we have lost through the physical space, right? And building community and just allowing students and even ourselves a space to express whatever feelings and emotions and ideas and questions that we're coming into the school year with, because we haven't necessarily had that space since March, right? And our students haven't seen us since March. And so trying to mitigate that and really being intentional about having a slow start and focusing on building that community and that safe space before we go into any kind of skill or content building. So definitely these are great. More power to all of you and a lot of love. And so Amy is going to actually give you a rundown a little bit of what's going to come up next that will connect the launching unit into the first spiral, the narrative spiral, which is actually being developed right now by, or has been developed by other teachers in the district as well. Amy?
All right, so quickly, as Bia said, today's real focus was just thinking about those first 2 weeks and how we're welcoming our students back. There are millions of things we could be talking about. We wanted to really narrow in on that. But we also want you to know other things are coming and the support is still here. So we have this document that's connected in the chat for you as a resource to know what's there. We will continue to have office hours and we will post those where you can come and ask questions, just problem solve around things. The English Language Arts Google Classroom, please join because we make lots of announcements in that classroom and all the resources we share will be housed in that Google Classroom. On this document below, there is the code that you need to join the classroom. In addition, anyone who is at this session will receive an invitation, if you haven't gotten one already, to the Google Classroom. If you have any colleagues who haven't received theirs, please help them join or please help them to connect to us so they can be part of that. Beyond the launching lessons, as Bia said, there's a Unit 1 that will be coming out August 24th, a 4-week Unit 1 connected to the narrative spiral for all grades. So 9, 10, 11, 12 will have individual units, and we will be having PDs around those units and potential follow-up groups for people who are teaching those units. And lastly, the only last one I'm going to go into is major work of the grade. We are taking the scope and sequence and we are essentializing it, so minimizing it with the idea of that we can only teach 75% of what we usually teach. We will be sharing those documents with you and having PDs around that as well. You'll also see there are many other PDs coming up. Descriptions are below, links. So take some time with that. One thing I know has been brought up is a lot around Hoopla and access to text. So I just want to highlight there's going to be more information around Hoopla and also Newsela and ways to use those resources for your students. All right, like I said, office hours today, 2:30 to 3:30. If you leave here with some burning questions, thoughts, please join us in those office hours. If someone would put that Zoom link in the chat, that would be helpful. Thank you. And lastly, we want to hear from you in the chat. Not lastly, because we have feedback as well, but one thing from today you're taking away, from today that will help you support students, and thinking about that original word cloud, help you think about to get them to feel like this at the end of the week. What is your takeaway after your multiple discussions with peers and looking at the unit? Here are some words you mentioned. So in the chat, if you could just throw in a takeaway. But yeah, Erin, I see some things coming up in the chat. What do you see?
Yeah, I'm seeing patterns of people feeling supported, like some ideas were validated or received from each other. It's okay.
Anxiety.
Slow. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no, yeah, totally what you said. Someone wrote anxiety reduced, and that's definitely like something we hoped was just even a little bit. I know many of us are just like, just a little bit. Feel some kind of breath. Listened to, heard.
Yeah, comforted.
As we said at the beginning, we appreciate you all being here and us to give you some offerings, and more importantly, to get 100 ELA teachers in a room to hear each other with where we are and our fears and our anxiety and what are possibilities and how we can support students to get there. We'd love to hear from you and feedback, not only about what you're taking away from today, but also what you want for future support. So right now, what are you thinking, like, this is what I'd really like your team to work with? It helps us to support, be responsive in our support to your needs, especially in this context. So the link for feedback is in the chat. And I just want to end by appreciating you all for being here and engaged, and for being ready on Monday to welcome our students into this context. Bea, Erin, Susie.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate all of you, your openness, and your willingness to grow and learn with all of us and your students and with each other. That's my timer.
You can stay on and do the feedback, or you can do it on your own time. It's up to you, but make sure you have that link, because we appreciate to hear your voice. And this is a great opportunity to hear from many of you.
Thank you, everyone.
It's good to see you guys, Erin and Meredith.
Oh, good to see you too. It's been a while.
In a couple of years, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Keep in touch.
So will the additional
Thank you.
curriculum that you're developing for the narrative spiral, is that going to be more optional as well? That if we have something we can use, but we can also use parts of yours?
Yes, thank you. I should have said that. Optional and adaptable, both.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, everything. Sample.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stay safe, healthy, take care, be well.
Thank you.
Stephen, I like your goatee.